I'm a sales representative, frequently traveling to various locations for work. Last month, I embarked on a solo business trip to a remote rural town. This secluded spot had spotty cell service and was genuinely out of the way. I arrived at the town during dusk, bouncing along on a potholed dirt road until I found a small, old-fashioned motel. It was a low, peeling paint building with a sign out front that creaked ominously, seeming like it might fall at any moment. Pushing open the squeaky door, a musty odor hit me. The lobby was deserted, except for an ancient ceiling fan clicking overhead. I rang the bell on the counter a few times, and after a bit, an emaciated, pale-faced old man shuffled out. With deep-set eyes and a blank expression, he silently took my reservation details. Despite my attempts at small talk, he only grunted in response, wordlessly leading me to my room. The room was even more decrepit, wallpaper peeling to reveal damp, blackened walls, and the floor creaking as if it might give way at any moment. I flopped down on the bed, which groaned in protest, its thin, torn sheets and saggy pillow offering little comfort. Although exhausted, a niggling sense of unease kept me tossing and turning until I finally drifted off into a fitful sleep deep into the night. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, a frantic knocking suddenly jolted me awake. Initially, I thought I'd imagined it, but after a moment, the clear bang, bang, bang of knocking reverberated through the silent night, startling in its urgency. Heart pounding, I slipped into my slippers and cautiously approached the door, peering through the peephole. The hallway was enveloped in darkness, deserted. Just as I was about to chalk it up to my imagination, a ghostly white face suddenly appeared before the peephole. I stumbled back, my heart hammering in my chest. The figure stared expressionlessly, as if gazing into my every move within the room. After a moment of knocking, it departed, footsteps fading into the distance. Terrified, I hastily called the police, my fingers trembling as I dialed. It took a while, but eventually, 2 officers arrived. They checked the hallway and my room, but found no one. The police searched the area around the motel, but didn't find any suspicious person. Finally, they advised me to lock all windows and doors and to call again if there were any issues, and then they departed. I muscled through the work with the terrifying memory still lingering. Every night, the pale face and the knocking seemed to haunt me, resurfacing especially in the deep, silent hours. Every time I jolt awake, I checked the door apprehensively, fearing the figure's reappearance. The business trip ended hastily amidst the unsettled nerves. To this day, I am still occasionally awakened by the phantom knocking in the night. When all is quiet, that sinister face and vacant eyes seem to be watching me, instilling a pervasive fear. Who was he, and why did he knock on my door that night? The mystery remains unsolved, casting an unwavering shadow over my mind. I am a software engineer, often needing to travel to various locations for work. Last week, my company assigned me to work for a week in a branch located in a rural small town, assisting them in resolving some technical issues. The town was not easily accessible, and my only lodging option was an ancient-looking inn. It was a small brick and timber building, with a wooden sign at the front that was peeling and darkened, and walls covered in moss. As I pushed the door open, a musty, decaying smell hit me, and the old-fashioned electric fan on the wall squeaked ominously. Behind the front desk sat a pallid middle-aged woman, who, with an indifferent expression, simply took my reservation and led me to my room. My room was located deep down a corridor on the 2nd floor, with large patches of wallpaper peeling off and a floor that was dark and greasy. I dropped my luggage and lay down on the bed, which was hard and the pillow was saggy, making it very uncomfortable to sleep. Although I was exhausted on the first night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The second night, after a day of work, I lay painfully on the stiff bed again, tossing and turning until late into the night before finally falling asleep. Around 2 a.m., a force jolting the bed awoke me suddenly. I thought it was an earthquake, but upon opening my eyes, I saw a woman in white standing at the foot of my bed, shaking it with both hands. Terrified, I sat up and screamed loudly. The woman stepped back a few steps at the sound, watching me expressionlessly. After a long while, she turned and left the room, and I watched her disappear out the door. Scared out of my wits, I called the front desk to alert the police. But by the time they arrived, the room was already empty. The police conducted a thorough search of the room and patrolled around the corridor, but the woman was nowhere to be found. The next day, I forced myself to continue working, but every nightfall, I became restless. On the third night, as I tossed and turned in bed until the wee hours, just as I was about to doze off, the room door quietly opened on its own. My heart raced as I watched the doorway cautiously. A fake silhouette stood silently at the door, slowly approaching me. Terrified again, I screamed loudly. The figure stopped and after a while, disappeared without a trace. This time, I firmly requested to change rooms. The indifferent woman at the front desk reluctantly agreed after a few brief acknowledgments and eventually gave me a different room. The new room was even more damp and chilly, and I spent another night tossing and turning anxiously. At dawn, I got up to check the door and found a few pieces of paper stuck to it, scrawled with the words "leave" in a crooked handwriting. Terrified, I checked out immediately and left the sinister inn. Yet, to this day, I am still awakened by the sound of a door opening in the middle of the night, and those empty eyes often appear in my dreams, making my nights restless. This business trip has become a shadow in my heart. Every late night, I recall the ancient Eerie inn and the strange footsteps heard when it's dead silent outside the window. I still can't get over it. That frightening experience has become a persistent nightmare. I'm a chef and was invited from New York to Los Angeles to give a cooking demonstration at a large food festival. My live cooking show was a huge hit, garnering lots of love from the audience. After the long day, I was utterly exhausted and just wanted to head back to the hotel for a good night's sleep. I got in my car and hit the crowded freeway. I knew the traffic would be bad, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. A sea of red brake lights stretched out in front of me on the road. After what felt like an eternity of crawling forward, the traffic finally began to ease. The radio reported a flip trailer up ahead had closed several lanes, explaining the jam. After about 45 minutes, the flow of cars started to pick up. I let out a sigh of relief and gently pressed the gas pedal to keep pace with the traffic. That's when I noticed a large white pickup truck tailgating me, glued to my bumper. This guy had been following me like this for a while now. At first, I thought he, like everyone else, was just trapped in the agony of the traffic jam. But when I changed lanes to let him pass, he followed, staying right behind me. No matter which lane I switched to, he made the exact same move, mimicking me. My heart was in my throat. Being followed so closely on the dark freeway made me extremely uncomfortable. I didn't know if he was a terrible driver or if there was malicious intent, but my gut was screaming at me to get away from this guy. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Up ahead, I saw an exit sign leading to downtown. This was my chance to escape. As I neared the exit, I glanced in the rearview mirror at the white pickup, then, at the last second, slammed the gas pedal and shot up the ramp, successfully shaking him off. I burst into the brightly lit, bustling downtown. Navigating through various traffic, I managed to distance myself from that terrifying exit. A few minutes later, I pulled into the bright parking lot of a 24/7 diner, stopping under a streetlight. I constantly checked my surroundings, and thankfully, the pickup truck did not appear. Just as I prepared to leave, a familiar figure suddenly entered my field of vision. A burly man wearing a baseball cap briskly walked across the parking lot, heading straight towards me. I immediately recognized him as the driver of the white pickup. I couldn't believe he had found me and followed me here. I immediately started the car, stomping on the gas and zooming out of the diner, trying once again to shake him off. As the hotel entrance came into view, a white pickup emerged from the right, stopping directly in front of me. I quickly made a left change of direction, narrowly avoiding him. Just as it approached again, I swung the steering wheel hard, darting into the hotel entrance, successfully shaking him off. The hotel security helped me out, finally allowing me to breathe a sigh of relief. I believe under this safeguarded environment, I can safely get through the night. Still, the stranger's relentless pursuit and his bone-chilling appearance will become the nightmare of many of my days and nights.